It's easy to get caught up in the hustle of daily life, with hardly time to stop and catch our breath. That's why there's a certain time each year when we get to slow things down a little and look back at how things were. As we lose our way with the cares of the present, the past is just waiting for us to recalibrate our bearings with the lessons it brings. As the saying goes, before you know where you're going, you have to know where you've been.
Hi there, welcome to Drive. My name is James Deakin, and on today's episode, I've got myself a list. You see, it's Holy Week here in the country, and actually it's Holy Week pretty much everywhere. But we're here in the country, and I have a list of things I'd like to do this Holy Week. I'm going to visit different religious places. I'm going to visit a cross that's bigger than a building. I'm going to save a life. I'm also going to have something that you can eat only here in Bataan. I've got 5 different pasalubongs I'm going to get here from Bataan. I'm going to walk in the line of heroes over here. I'm going to visit different types of things. Of course, I need a car to do all of this. But being a rebirth here, that's Easter, I'm also celebrating the rebirth of a brand. It's SsangYong. You know them. They've been here before. Up and down, they kind of had some mixed success. This here is their all-new Tivoli. It's a brand new model, and it has a lot of promise as well. I don't know a lot about it, and that is what I'm also setting out to achieve on this episode, and you're coming with me. So jump in and let's go for a drive. So far inside, it's kind of funky. I'm liking the vibe. I got the different contrasts and colors. That's the nice thing about this car, is it's got a lot of personality, at least on the inside. Outside, jury's still out for me. I'm not really a big fan of the sort of styling. It's not for everybody, but it has got its sort of market. At least it's got something different. It separates itself from everything else out there on the road. But inside is where the story is, because it's very comfortable. You've got room for 5 people here, and you've also got quite a lot of luggage room. I particularly like the setup here with the display. It is a tablet, and I keep saying this over and over again. This is something that all manufacturers should do. Stop reinventing the wheel. Let the people who know how to do it, do it. That's their core competence, tablets. And we all know how to use them, so no point developing something that's proprietary. Steering's light enough, and something that is quite unique to this car is it has the tire direction over here. So if your car is parked and your wheels are turned, you can see where your tire directions are facing. You got your start-stop engine button over here. That's pretty good. Air conditioning vents over here. It's pretty well sorted out. Generally, I think it's quite a pleasant place to be. Now, 10 years ago, if we're going by the last SsangYong I drove, well, that would count as self-flagellation. I was able to tick one off the list, but that's far from the case here. Right now, this Tivoli, a new SsangYong, totally different. I have to say, I'm actually very impressed so far. It feels just like any of its other Korean brothers or sisters, like a Kia or a Hyundai. In fact, had I not seen the badge, I wouldn't have known. I would have thought it was something like a Soul inside, because it's got that sort of same vibe happening. It's a bit of a crossover. Driving it, well, it feels good. I have to say, it's tight. I don't feel anything sort of rattling around. Noise levels are decent. So far, this thing should be able to get us where we need to go. It's got a 1.6 liter engine, not overly powerful. It's about 126 horsepower. It's just got enough to sort of get us where we need to go. It's a good thing we're not totally full, but right now the drive is pretty pleasant. So we're headed right now to Abukay Church. It's a religious place, of course, and we want to start on the right note, right? So that's where we're headed up. Wow, this is awesome. Look at this. 400 years old. I wish I looked half as good as this when I hit 400, but that architecture, this is real history right here. And you know the best part? Because it's 400 years old, doubles up as my next on the list for a 400-year-old selfie. Well, there you go, 400-year-old church, and the best part about it is we started off with it, so I'm in the good graces already. Got that off the list. Now, let's go and see what else Bataan has to offer us, and let's go out and explore and see what else this car can give us back in return as well. I heard there's some really nice driving roads here. This is the first product that SsangYong developed with their partnership with Mahindra, and inside it's pretty spacious. I have to say it's somewhere between a car and an SUV. You've got a little bit more space in the car, but you've got sort of partly the driving position of an SUV. That's pretty good. You can fit about 5 people in here in comfort, and then you still got room for luggage, which is always pretty handy if you're heading out of town and you need to sort of carry some goods, or you know, heaven forbid, you need to like rescue some people that just happen to be on the side of the road, just like these guys over here. What are the odds of that, right? These guys look like they really need some help. What's up, boys?
Got problems. Can we hitch a ride to the beach?
Yeah, absolutely, sure, no problem. Let's go, let's go. Just looking for people to rescue, and bang, they happen to be there. Well, the nice thing is now we've been able to fill the car with people. I get to feel what the car is like under load. You see, a 1.6-liter engine. I'm a little bit worried about whether it could sort of take luggage, people, the extra weight. Now we're on these curves. So far, the Tivoli is dancing quite nicely on it. What do you think, boys? You agree?
Nice.
There you go. There you go. And that is not a paid audience. Now we're headed to Pawikan because I'm told that I can save a life over there. Not sure exactly what they mean by that, but that's where I'm headed. Woo! Here we are. All right, boys, get ready to go. We're here at a very, very unique place. This is the Pawikan Conversation Center, and we're here to save a life. Conservation. Thank you. That makes a lot more sense. Conservation Center, because yeah, here I was thinking, how are we going to talk the turtles out of committing suicide? But we're here to save a life, and we're here to do what we have to do. You're welcome, boys. Let's go and let's save some turtles. What an awesome drive getting up here. What makes it even more awesome is it's a drive with a purpose. We're here at the Pawikan Conservation Center. Get that right, conservation. And what we're doing here right now is basically helping these little guys have a future. They go and they collect the eggs, they bring them over to a safe place, they wait till they hatch, and then when they hatch, then we release it. But the survival rate is mga how much?
1%?
Ooh.
Estimated 1%?
About 1%. But anyway, that's better than nothing. So what we're going to do is we release them now. Okay. So these guys have to find their own way into the ocean. We can't just toss them in there because they need to feel their way and get what they call the imprinting process. So now, 1 or 2 of these guys are probably going to come back here bigger than me. I hope they thank me for this because I've just saved their life. Not that I'm counting, but you know, I'm just saying. Now, just to make things a little bit interesting, SsangYong have used what I've seen this before on the Kias. Over here, you can press different steering modes. So I've got comfort, I've got normal, and I've got sport. So far the sport, yep, it feels a little bit sort of heavier. Let me just flick that over to comfort. Oh no, I'm feeling a little bit. It changes it just a little bit, so it's enough to sort of impress your friends. Hey, look at this, I can choose 3 different steering modes in my car with a press of a button. Okay, I need 5 different things that you can only get here in Bataan. I tried taking her, but they won't let me, so let's walk over here. I'm told cashews are a big thing. This is Bagaqueño, so that's from the town of Bagac, so that's got to be 1. Cashew butter, that should be another thing there. That's 2. Mussel chips, look at that, mussel chips. That'll get you all pumped up. Cashew lengua de gato cookies, that's only here in Bataan, and there's 1 more. This one you can only get in Bataan. It's a Bataan shirt. Ha 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 ha. Not that it's 100% accurate to do it this way, but our fuel consumption, around about the 8 kilometers per liter. And this is on a mixed cycle, so take into account that there are also a lot of times where the car is going backwards and forwards. When you're doing it while you're shooting, it doesn't give you the most accurate sort of reading, but you know, at least it's par for the course for a 1.6 liter car. All right, somewhere in the list here, aha, there it is. Eat something you can only find in Bataan. This, I'm told, you can only find here. There's a unique story behind this dish. It's called bún chả gyo, and you can find it here in Morong because there was a Vietnamese refugee camp nearby here during the Vietnam War. And the people of this place befriended those people, and this happened. There you go, bún chả gyo. There's only one way to find out if it's good. It's really nice. What's particularly nice about this is just for this week, it's normally got pork in it. For this week, they made it with little grinded pieces of fish instead of pork, just for Holy Week. Right, just checking my list. Aha, there it is, walking the path of heroes. That's on my list. I may not actually walk it, but right behind me here is kilometer 0 of the Bataan Death March. On April 9 of 1942, that was the fall of Bataan. Now, it didn't happen right here. It happened over in Mount Samat, which is roughly, I don't know, about half an hour's drive away from here. But this was where they all started. 60,000 to 80,000 prisoners of war were forced to walk from here all the way through Tarlac via San Fernando. It was declared eventually a horrific war crime. So from here, I'm gonna make my way to Samat and see where the fall happened. Let's go. So far, the Tivoli's been performing quite well in mixed conditions. So we've had everything from these nice winding roads here around Bagac, and we've had highways, we've had some really steep uphill stuff, downhill stuff, which is really hard on the brakes. When you're sitting inside here, you really couldn't tell what brand of car you were in, unless of course you look at the logo there on the steering wheel. And that's a good thing, because you see, SsangYong have a lot to sort of prove, because it's hard enough to start a new brand in the country, but when you're actually restarting a brand, when you've had a brand here that didn't go so well, come on, let's face it and be honest about it, You know, they had those MB100 vans out there that were rebadged to SsangYongs when they had that technical partnership going on. They had the Musos, which were like those SUVs. You don't see any of them anymore. So they really have to dig deep to get the trust back of the consumer. And this is a good start. I'd like to see more dealerships, more noise made by the brand. That would really help. You see, I'm not finding a lot of fault in the car. So I think the rest all has to be built up around the brand and the confidence that you have in this servicing, how it's sort of perceived, etc. And that's where the real work for SsangYong is, not necessarily the product. We're doing quite fine with this one. It's doing its job and it's doing it quite well, I have to say. Now we've hit the portion where we can give it a good test. Climbing up the hills of Mount Samat. Oh, I can feel, I'm almost feeling the car's pain here when it's trying to accelerate. Oh, nice tight curves here. This is where the steering comes in handy. Flick it around. I'll just put it into sport. So far, at least we're not running out of power. It's got about the same power as your compact sedan, relative power, because, you know, it might be a little bit heavier, but it's got about the same sort of feel to it. So it's not bad, but it's not going to get you out of bed in the middle of the night to take you for a drive, but it'll certainly carry its own weight. We've had about 5 people in the car with luggage as we've gone through some of the hills, so we know it can cope with that. Here's a nice steep one over here. Yep, it's carrying itself pretty well. It's doing it with dignity, put it that way. Well, we climbed up that mountain. It took us about 30 minutes or so from kilometer 0. You can imagine what it would take in those guys who had to walk. I can only imagine what they had to go through. Climbing up here was not too much of a problem. Plenty of torque in the car, so it wasn't really any hassle whatsoever. The steering was also a bit of a help because you have those 3 modes to choose from. But now, more importantly, I'm able to tick off 3 things off my list. Firstly, I made it up a mountain. Secondly, there is also visiting a religious structure. I think that counts, doesn't it? And the last one is taking a picture of a cross bigger than the building. But I think I'll get a better vantage point for that. Hang on. Well, we made it all the way to the top, actually at the foot of the cross, but the top of the mountain at the perfect time of day as well. Sun is just starting to sink beneath the mountains in the background there, and this place is just so serene. Can't help but get kind of emotional here, just imagining what it would have been like back in 1942. But there's still 2 more things on the list. I have to be in 1 more religious structure, and I have to show you some beautiful Filipino architecture. We saw some, a little bit, but not quite what we're ready to show you now. I've been told that there's a place somewhere in Balanga that's completely out of this world. Let's go. What a perfect way to end a wonderful trip here in Bataan. Everywhere we went, it was just wow, wow, wow. It was almost neck snapping. From the landscape, to the food, to the people, to just about everything we saw here. It's just been one pleasant surprise after another. Getting around, of course, we needed a car to do it. And the Tivoli, well, quite a surprise, this little car. We came in with sort of limited expectations of it. Didn't know much about it, but we came out quite impressed. I mean, the car itself is quite a little charmer. I mean, it's got all the goods you sort of need to do what we had to do here. It has room for luggage. It fits 5 people in comfort. And it's got a nice sort of design. The inside, the outside, well, we'll leave that up to you. If there's any area of improvement, it's just SsangYong really need to sing from the rooftops that they're back. They gotta let people know that they're out there. Took us a while before we realized this was on the market, and we're glad that we did. Oh, wait, we still have a list. I gotta make sure that we finish this list. Let me just check. There's so many things that we did today that we have to double check. Visit 3 religious historical landmarks. Come on, we did that and more. Selfie with a 400-year-old structure. Well, we couldn't find in Relay, so we did it in front of a church. Save a life. I saved many turtles, but they're still lives, right? Take a photo of a cross taller than the building. Come on, that was easy. Eat a dish that could only be found in Bataan. That Vietnamese restaurant, very, very nice. Go up a huge mountain in less than 30 minutes. Okay, we took a car, but they never said we couldn't, right? Help out a group of people. Yep, we did that even if they were the same guys from another episode, but we won't get into that. Visit a beautiful place with Philippine architecture. Hello! Buy 5 kinds of pasalubong from Bataan, check, and walk in the path of heroes. Well, we drove it, but that's close enough, right? Hey, maybe you've got an idea for us. Maybe you got a hidden gem just like this place that we should know about. Maybe you got a car that we should test, or a person in the industry that we should meet. If it's related to cars, I want to know about it. Hook up on my website, jamesdeakin.ph, and from there, you'll find all the social media channels. There's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Facebook. You look hard enough, you might even find Friendster. It's there. All right, so until next week, my name is James Deakin. On behalf of the entire Drive team, drive safely, everyone.